Welcome to the Writer's Room. I'm so excited. The wonderful questions I've been getting from the surveys about what your concerns are. And I've been excited because it gives me great stuff to talk about in my videos. And I'm doing this 3-video series in preparation for this Saturday's free writer's webinar, Finish a Damn Script. I like that title. I like that title mostly because everything that folks have been writing to me about are the things that are getting in the way of them finishing their script. And so I've created this 3-video series to talk about the major things that I've been hearing on the comments in the blog, the comments and emails that are being sent to me in response to the Writer's Arsenal newsletter, the comments that I've been getting in the Writer's Room, the private members only group on Facebook that people on my mailing list are part of, and you can be too if you sign up. I've been getting great questions about these major things. How to find time, right? How to find time to write. And the major way to find time to write is one, write every day, but the second one is to create an outline and work from an outline and break up your writing task into small 10-minute writing sessions. Okay, that's one of the things we're going to talk about. Plot and structure. People have issues with focusing on one thing, not putting too many things in the story, figuring out what the most interesting plot points are going to be. That also affects character, right? Because who the characters are drives what their problems are going to be, drives what problems they've got to solve, and those problems that the character has to solve are the plot points. Okay? So basically, structure. Right? So all these things feed right into each other. You make time for yourself if you learn how to create an outline, right? That's where you find the time to write, because then you're writing from the outline, right? So basically where you're going is already mapped out by the outline. But you need a structure for that, right? Otherwise you can spend all day. And then the third thing that I keep hearing a lot about is what is standard play format and what is standard screenplay format, all right? Finding time, the outline, standard play format, plot and structure. That's the things that I'm going to discuss in these next 3 videos. Those are the things that we're going to get into heavy-duty detail about this Saturday in the free webinar at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can sign up for it, and if you can't make that, we'll send you the recording. So let's dive into, first of all, today, what I'm going to talk about is what I hear all the time. Time. I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time, all right? And I will tell you that as a writer and a performer and a producer and the director of development for Simon Says Entertainment, where all I do is read scripts, decide which ones we should pursue, produce, and then develop, right? So what I do as an artist is also what I do as a producer. I'm a creative producer. I help people fine-tune their scripts, right, and get them production ready. And then once a script is shot, you know, there's 3 different versions of the script, right? Of a film, rather. There is the movie you wrote, the movie you shot, and the movie that got edited, right? And as a creative producer, I'm developing that story in each of those phases, right? So with an independent film, we usually shoot in a really tight amount of time, right? 3, maybe 4 weeks. We shot Gun Hill Road in 18 days. Yes, holla. Everybody was cracked out, but it got done, right? What you learn then in that tight 18-day period, you're trying to save money, you're trying to make sure the protagonist's arc, you have enough cuts in every scene, wide shots, different takes for the protagonist and how they're impacting other people, right? You got to get all those shots in because each one of those shots tells a different part of the story. Got to make sure you hit them. Well, when you get into the editing room, particularly when you're shooting in such a short period of time, you're really going to put your story together then in the editing room too. It may be different from the original script, right? Because what happens on the set is what happens on the set. And once you wrap, you can't go back unless you have tons of money. And as independent films, we don't have tons of money. So what we shoot, that's the movie we make, right? So what I've learned from that developmental process is that when we get into the editing process, and I'll tell you this really amazing thing about Sundance, okay? You submit your rough cut to Sundance, or a very good rough cut. You know, you may not have all the ADR and the lighting and sound, all that stuff done, right? Color correct, etc., etc. But the story is there, right? They give you this tight little window between when you submit in October, November. You've got like a month to then finish that rough cut. It's crazy. You've got to do all the color correct. You've got to do all the ADR, all the sound stuff, all the editing little things that aren't right. You got to put the music in. You have 30 days, essentially, more like 22, to like finish the film, really finish the film once you get in. It is no joke. You are catapulting towards picture lock, right? What I've learned in that process is that we're doing more editing. We're doing more fine tuning of telling the story. And it's always about connecting the plot points with the character's overall arc. So the way that you make those hard decisions about cutting a film when you are really moving to picture lock has everything to do with fine-tuning the plot points and making the plot points help the character's arc unfold, right? So plot points are basically problems that you put in the character's way for them to solve. And each time the character solves a problem, it moves the script forward because it solves one problem, but it creates another, right? So that the events start to tumble. That's where you get that tumbling effect of plot points, is that plot points are essentially problems that the protagonist has to solve. The protagonist learns something about themselves every time they solve one of these problems, and that's what moves the script forwards, right? I have learned the most about action. As I was saying, I've learned the most about action from the process of moving into picture lock and really tracking, making sure the plot points are really developing the character, right? So in these 3 videos, I am going to touch on that process of how you develop plot points and how that's related to character, right? And again, we're going to talk about time and focus, and we're going to talk about standard screenplay and standard play format. Today I want to talk about time and give you my amazing trick for finding time to write. Do an outline, right? And I'm going to touch a little bit about what that outline looks like today, but what I'm going to create is a situation in which you don't feel pressed. You don't feel like you have to leave your child. You don't have to get up at 4 a.m. to start writing. You know, you don't have to wander around on the page and feel like nothing I'm writing is any good. You don't have to sit in your room on a Saturday, the one Saturday you have off all month, and your kids are at the beach with, you know, the school group, and you finally have the Saturday to write and nothing comes. I'm going to solve that problem and allow your writing time to be an effective use of time. First trick, write every day. I don't care if it's 5 minutes on the train. I don't care if it's your lunch break and grabbing a cup of coffee, you put it in your thermos and you go sit in the stairwell of your job, right? I don't care if you lock yourself up in the toilet at your job. That's where I used to do audition preparation. Hello. When I was a temp at Citibank and auditioning, trying to get acting jobs. The bathroom was my 10-minute prep place. Go to the bathroom for 10 minutes, right? And here's the trick. You're going to do an outline before you ever write anything. And you are going to come back to that outline for 10 minutes every day. I don't care what time of day it is. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care if you're half awake. The thing is, at least look at that outline, make a note about something, read it out loud to yourself, which is the most effective tool as a writer I have found. If nothing is coming, I go back and look at what I've read and read some of it out loud. It immediately jars the memory and puts me back into the writing place, even if I only have 5 minutes to write or I have enough time to write 1 sentence. The outline is the first thing you do, right? We can start really broad with an outline. I feel like the best outlines are when you go to a writer's retreat and you spend the whole weekend doing an entire outline of the story. I mean, that's how books get written now, essentially, right? Is that people don't write a book. You write a book proposal, which includes a couple of chapters and an outline of the entire book, as well as what the market is for your book. That's how books get written, right? I think it's a super effective way to write. And I feel like you should get paid to write. So if you write an outline, it's the most effective use of your time, right? So a 100-page screenplay or a 100-page play could end up being a 20-page outline. That's a whole play. I mean, you're going to go in and write the dialogue later. But if you know where your character's going, you know where your character's problem is, you know the 5 or 10 major characters are going to be introduced. If you know that all up front, that's most of the writing done. So that's how you save time, is that you work from the outline. And if it takes you a whole month of working for 10 minutes every morning to do the outline, do it. Because guess what? At some point during this year, you're going to take a vacation, you're going to take a writer's retreat, you're going to take a woman's day, you're going to take something. And you can write pages and pages and pages once you have an outline, right? My second play, Good Bread Alley, I wrote in a weekend in Miami, 4 days. That's it. That's how long I had my drama turn. I wrote a scene, I gave it to her, she took notes, I wrote another scene. I finished it in that weekend. But the way that I was able to do that is that I've been outlining the play all year long, right? And I write a little bit every day, morning pages, outline, whatever. 20 minutes in the morning, grab it here on the train. I have a little mini journal, and then I have an 8.5 by 11 composition book that I write in at home. But my mini journal is like this big, goes with me everywhere, and I take notes, right? My outline is in there, right? My outline is in my journals. My outline is on my iPad. My outline is everywhere. My outline is in my email, right? I keep everything I've written in my Gmail, because you have tons of space, and guess what? I may be in the toilet somewhere. I may be on the toilet. I may be on the subway. I can always access something from email. I can access something on my email, download it into my phone in the notes, and be like writing on the train. And writing is just thinking about your script and moving things around. So the outline is the best way to save time. Where do you start with the outline? The outline begins with the inciting incident. Now, in Saturday's class, I am actually going to give you my outline format. It's about 3 pages long. You just plug your story into it. It's amazing. It is amazing. Entire plays, entire screenplays can be written in 48 hours if you have an outline format. It is the trick. It's Jesus turning wine into water. It is a trick, and it's an invaluable trick, right? Because the play or the screenplay, the story unfolds so easily once you have an outline. So let me give you the first step of the outline, but you're gonna have to sign up for the class on Saturday to get the entire outline, in which I'll be giving you guys a handbook with my outline template in Saturday's class. But the first place you start with that outline is, what is the inciting incident? To incite means to cause, right? To create, to light a flame. What is the thing that lit the flame under you that made you start telling this story? For example, and there are lots of times writers are not great writers, but they're great at creating an inciting incident, and they're great at making the plot points tumble. And the plot points appear because your inciting incident is so hot. That's why to incite, to excite, to light a flame, those things are all sort of related. I forget what the word incite means in the Latin, but it has something to do with causing a chemical or fiery reaction. If you think of your inciting incident that way, the rest of the story happens. For example, in Octavia Butler's Kindred, the inciting incident is that she is a time traveler. Okay? Nice black chick, married to a cool white guy, falls, bumps her head, I forget the details. But essentially, why the story is so engaging is, if you can tell me the inciting incident in 15 seconds or less, I'm dying to read the rest of the story, right? If the inciting incident is sharp and sexy, the rest of the story will just tumble. In Kindred, the inciting incident is that black chick, contemporary America, married to white guy, accidentally travels back in time. When she wakes up, she is a slave, and guess who her master is? Her husband. Like a relative of her husband. Is that like, that's so hot, right? Can you imagine? I went to sleep, and when I woke up, my baby's daddy is now my slave owner? Hello, problem. That's a hot, inciting incident. It drives the entire plot of the rest of the story. You want to learn more about that. You have to find an inciting incident that does that for you. That's the thing that made you write to begin with. If that is sharp, the rest of the story will be easy. The plot points will start jumping up in your face. You can't miss it, right? For me, when I write, I always write about something amazing that happened in history that changed everybody, right? And then I imagined personally how that changed people, right? In my first play, it was the 1980 race riots in Miami, right? I always knew I wanted to write about the riots, but I didn't want to write some like distant, the riots were bad and there was a child. No, I got into the nitty gritty of a family's life, right? Those 10 years leading up to the riots. What was the chemical atmosphere of that city, right? What were the black people in that tiny city of Liberty City? How were they living? What were their problems? What were the things that were tumbling and falling apart leading to the day of the riots? And that's what I basically plotted out. A black family involved in activism. So you see the family going to marches, rallying for this, trying to get economic rights. And every time the family's activism fails, another block crumbles in the community and gets us closer and closer to this explosion, right? So my inciting incident actually happened towards the end of the play. But the inciting incident for writing the story was, how did we get to the riots? That's a really hot, inciting incident, right? It then behooves me, the writer, to sort of either go back in history and look at what really did happen, right? That's an easy thing to do. You're like, well, maybe I'll just go back in history and, that's why Civil War stories, Pearl Harbor stories, all of those things are hot and exciting because it requires the writer, you have this huge inciting incident, and you, the writer, then go in and do some research about what could have triggered that. What are the things leading up to that day, that moment, right? Lots of writers say, and I've heard in lots of writing classes, why today? Why now? Why is this character doing this today? That's all related to the inciting incident. If you come up with a smoking hot inciting incident, I promise you, the rest of your outline will be easy. Easy. So you're going to spend some time this week thinking about an inciting incident for a story that you have in your mind, right? Maybe it's a story you don't have in your mind. Maybe it's just something you saw. Maybe it's something that you were walking down the street and, I was reading a story the other day that was really sort of amazing about this little Russian lady. I feel like it's on the Lower East Side. Who was afraid to walk to her house. This was on Facebook. Was afraid to walk to her house. And there's this young black man, like early 30s, that hangs out in the neighborhood. He always walks her home. He just volunteered. And there's several pictures of him on Facebook and how she relies on him. And he says, I don't want to see old people by themselves, being vulnerable, not having anyone care for them, right? That's an amazing story. That's a great place to start. What about that story? Why hasn't that story been told? That inciting incident of seeing this young 6'4" black man helping this 90-year-old little Russian lady who barely speaks English with her groceries and getting her to her door every time she gets off the bus. Like, that's an amazing story. What would happen if he weren't there? Right? Inciting incidents are things that move you. Inciting incidents are events that sort of grab you in the heart and say, oh my God, I want to know more about this story. What would happen if this person wasn't there to make this happen, right? What if they were there and something interrupted their journey, right? It gives you a pop. It lights a flame under your storytelling. And it is the quickest way to get away from lack of focus, to get away from not having time, right? You can talk about the inciting incident. You can make a dream board and cut out pictures and clips. That's what I did when I was like, oh, well, the riots. Like, I remember the riots. I was a little kid, right? So I went and got pictures of the riots and started putting them on my blog and looking at slides. And those pictures triggered plot points for me because they were so hot. So when you're thinking about your inciting incident, think of the hot, the fire, the smoke, the sizzle. Something that you spend all your time on social media talking about is something you need to be writing about, right? Write down that inciting incident. You should be able to tell me what that inciting incident is in about the same 30 seconds. I've told you several inciting incidents of Kindred, the incidents of the riots in Miami really did it for me, the incident of this young black guy walking this 90-year-old Russian lady home every day, right? Those are inciting incidents. They don't even have to be in the story, but they are the thing that trigger the story, right? So when you're creating your inciting incident, often I find it's easiest to begin with, this is the inciting incident, and then your very first scene is what happened next, right? There's a huge breakup. The woman walks in, she sees her husband in the bed with the babysitter. That's an inciting incident. Do we need to see it? Maybe not. Maybe not. But what might be interesting is what happened next. Or sometimes you do want that image in there. But I will tell you, figuring out the inciting incident is the quickest way to save time in your writing. Write the inciting incident down. And then every day, that 10 minutes, I'm just asking you to find 10 minutes. What that might mean is not checking your Facebook today. There's 10 minutes. This is not rocket science, people. Not checking your Facebook, that's 10 minutes. And here's what 10 minutes of writing could look like. Let me go back and reread my inciting incident out loud and make a list of the 3 things that happened next. You're writing if you're doing that, right? So today I wrote the inciting incident down. tomorrow I'm going to go back, read the inciting incident out loud to myself, and then write the 3 next things that happen. They don't have to be full sentences, 3 phrases. The inciting incident is today. This is Monday. The woman walks in the door. Her husband is in the bed with the babysitter. I have written down my inciting incident for the day. Tomorrow, I will go in and be like, 3 things happened next. She walked over. She pulled the covers back. 2, she walked over and she pulled the covers back. There was another woman in the bed. 3, the protagonist then goes and gets a gun and pulls it on her husband. Those are the 3 events for today. The next day is Wednesday. I will then read the inciting incident out loud again, the 3 points that I put down, and then I will say, what are the next 3 things that happened? This is your outline, people. This is it. In 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day, right? A good script only has about 8 plot points, right? So after 8 days, you could conceivably have the entire script done. At least the outline. And then the rest is easy. So you see how time, don't let it get in the way. Find another way to come at it. That's all I got for you today. I want you to work on that inciting incident, and start adding 3 what happened next points after an inciting incident each day. And it's important in this 10 minutes that you read what you wrote the day before out loud to yourself to help you re-enter the story again. And remember, you're writing phrases. Bullet point 1, bullet point 2, bullet point 3. Don't go deep. It's the outline, right? It's just the guide, right? It's the guide that's going to get you to finish one story, right? In my next video, I am going to talk a little bit more about the outline. I'm going to talk about standard play format and standard screenplay format, and which apps and which software you absolutely have to have. You can't submit anywhere if you're not using industry standard. And I'm going to give you a quick way to sort of lay that out, because I keep getting this question. And then the 3rd video, I'm going to talk hardcore structure, right? What is a plot? What are the subplots? How do you develop character? What are the 3 questions that you need to outline to create a character? Where do you get name and dialogue? How do they speak? How do they get what they want? All of that is a part of structure. That's what the 3rd video will be about. They're all, again, you got to watch the videos so you're prepared for Saturday's class, right? And you want to get this free copy of my outline. It's a 3-page template. You just plug in your plot points. It will make your life so much quicker, so much easier, okay? And then I'm going to give you a template for standard play format, which I keep getting questions about. We're going to learn it. And it's very similar to screenplay format. Once you get the basics down, right? Spacing, what's capitalized, character names as opposed to places, where do you put stage directions, where do you put camera angles, what is the format? There is a standardized format that makes a script readable. So those are the things I'm going to touch on in the 3 videos, and then in Saturday's class, I'm going to lay it out and give you the handbooks and give you a play-by-play so you can do it. This is fantastic. So if you want to learn this stuff, you got to watch the videos. And better yet, to access the videos, which will only be available this week, they are going to go dark after Saturday, you have to sign up for the class. And if you can't make Saturday's class, we'll send you the recording. So you can go to April Yvette Thompson's writersroom.weebly.com. You can email us at AprilYvetteThompsonCoaching@gmail.com. You can go to Coaching with April Yvette Thompson on Facebook. You can go to April Yvette Thompson on Tumblr or April Yvette Thompson on Twitter. Send me a note, say, sign me up, sign me up. And I go, all right, bitches, I got you. And that's what I'll do. So I would love to hear back from you guys. If you have comments, you can comment in the comments on YouTube. This will be posted on Facebook and in the Writers Room group. This will also go out to people on my mailing list. So all of the links to where you can sign up are also in the bottom of this video. So I would love to hear from you. Send me your questions and sign up for the class. This class is a one-time only deal. And once we reach capacity, it is a 100-person capacity, registration will close. So if we hit that capacity before Friday, you might be out of luck. So sign up. Talk to you soon.